Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, this is Jesse with the Common Nerd. And now I, for one, am all for games being delayed, right? We've seen way too many times that companies have decided to go out there and push out games way too early and see them end up coming out broken and buggy, and there's all kinds of problems. I mean, you can talk about the kind of thing that started all of this actually being kind of a thing in the industry, unfortunately. Cyberpunk 2077, which of course I love now that it works and it's worked out really well, but we saw what happened with Star Wars Outlaws. Of course, Ubisoft pushed that game out way too early after literally like the entire internet was like, hey, this game looks kind of broken and buggy. Maybe you guys should wait a little while. No. Ubisoft knew better. And what happened with Star Wars Outlaws? It turned into a giant flop. It cost them over $500 million. It failed miserably. Well, boys and girls, as everyone knows, Assassin's Creed Shadows has also been delayed several times. Now, obviously, I'm sure the initial delay was absolutely to fix like broken and buggy issues and stuff like that. But being delayed twice now is something that me thinks that there's major changes happening behind the scene. And boys and girls, if rumor mill can be believed, which considering the sources this is coming for, I'm basically you boys and girls can take this to the bank. It sounds like there are massive changes going on behind the scenes inside of Assassin's Creed Shadows. And it's because of each and every one of you that voiced your concerns and voiced your opinions out there on the interwebs and made sure that Ubisoft knew exactly how you felt about this game before it even came out. And hey, shout out and a win for all of you, because guess what? It looks like they have listened, because as you can see from our dear sweet friends over there at That Park Place, which I will remind you last year had a 91% accuracy rating on their rumor mill, states exclusive. Assassin's Creed Shadows delay was to scale back Yasku after a historical backlash. Yes, boys and girls, and there are some massive changes going on that they have detailed very well in this article. So who knows? Maybe this will work for them. Maybe we'll actually get a decent Assassin's Creed game set in Japan. I have no idea. At this point, I think there's so much bad blood out there with the majority of the gaming community and Ubisoft's fans out there that I don't think this is going to pan out for them very well at all. But who knows? I could be wrong. And honestly, I would love to be. I want these games to succeed from some of our favorite franchises out there. I want these things to do well, but they have to change their ways. And according to this article, Ubisoft might actually be giving them a shot at that. They might actually be trying that, but it also may be way too little, way too late, considering the disastrous dumpster fire that their finances are currently in. So we're going to check out this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details of exactly what we've got right here. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We're on our way to 900 subscribers over there on the Common Nerd Gaming channel, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Do these leaks and these changes, if true, would they make you more excited about the game? Would they make you more interested in going actually out there and playing it? Is this the right move for Ubisoft, or do you think they're capitulating to a mob that really doesn't care about this game? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. All right, from That Park Place and our dear sweet Francisco Solbach. A That Park Place source has confirmed that Ubisoft's delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows in order to make narrative cuts that severely limit the role of Yasku in the story. Yes, boys and girls, their big, proud, black protagonist that was going to go through and smashing up a bunch of Japanese people in their home country is now being scaled back. I wonder why that didn't go over very well with the natives of Japan. Ubisoft made headlines recently by delaying the game a whole month. Many assumed at the time that the Shadows was a buggy mess, similar to Ubisoft's Star Wars Outlaws when it launched. And while that may have been true, early hands-on streams have shown more than a few glitches and bugs. We have it on good authority that there's something else going on behind the scenes. Yasuki's fall from grace, Assassin's Creed Shadows shifts focus to Nioi, and I apologize if I'm butchering that name. As YouTube host SkillUp mentioned, after playing the game for 5 hours, he primarily played as Yasuki, but noted that the experience was vastly different and inferior compared to playing as Neo. According to him, Yasuki lacks the same versatility as Neo, not just in combat, but also in exploration. Surprisingly, Yasuki doesn't have the same opportunities, such as climbing higher towers. This gave the impression that Yasuki is locked into a more limited, one-dimensional role within the game. Now, isn't that interesting? That aligns with a rumor recently communicated by a That Park Place source speaking under the condition of anonymity. Obviously, and shout out to the people that are still sane inside of these companies out there that are leaking this information out to you. You boys and girls are doing the Lord's work. Keep it up. And trust me, places like That Park Place are going to protect you. According to our source, the $20 million delay, and by the way, even if all of these changes do turn out great, this game's already screwed because of how much they've dropped. I mean, we're talking over north of $500 million at this point dumped into this game, especially with all these days. 20 million, probably going to end up costing a lot more than that. Even if this game ends up being a hit, I think there's no chance in hell it makes any kind of profit, which is once again going to screw Ubisoft because they're already in the red. So it was not merely to polish the game, but to shift focus away from Yasuki as the main protagonist. Evidence of this can already be seen in marketing, where Yasuki's increasingly absent from the prominent posters that feature Nioi more prominently instead. This appears to be a reaction to the backlash Ubisoft has faced, not only from longtime fans of the franchise, but also from many Japanese critics angered by Yasuki's portrayal as far more significant historical figure than he actually was. And one of those, now this is strictly a leaked kind of thing. I saw this floating around Twitter a few days ago. We don't know exactly how true this is, but it's one of them situations where this is supposedly new Assassin's Creed Shadow cover art revealed with new characters. We don't know how true this is. We don't know exactly how accurate this is, but it is very similar. It is very curious that they completely Disney Star Wars finned this guy and shoved him way in the back. And a shout out to the chunk up here being prominent. I love that. I absolutely love it. No idea if that's true. No idea if it's real, but that's what we've got as of right now. Furthermore, rumors suggest that many of Yasuki's quests, including main and side content, have been removed or heavily altered. These cuts are reportedly intended to avoid offending Japanese audiences and historians who have criticized the game's historical inaccuracy. A significant portion of the controversy ties back to Thomas Lockley, whose work Ubisoft allegedly used as the prime inspiration for Yasuki's character. Lockley, who co-authored African Samurai, The True Story of Yasuki, a legendary black warrior in feudal Japan, has been accused of grossly exaggerating. We've gone over a lot of this in the past. Fabricating much of Yasuki's history, his portrayal has been widely debunked by historians who argue that Yasuki was likely a bodyguard and a servant rather than a legendary samurai, as Lockley has claimed. And this is where the changes really point to that exactly what it is. So Lockley's dismissal from discussions around the game has been subtle but noticeable. Ubisoft initially promoted him as a key source for the character, but has since gone silent on his involvement. Yeah, and that's a shout out to each and every one of you making your voices heard and everybody out there making videos and all this kind of stuff and exposing this garbage. This silence, and all the wonderful people of Japan too. This silence coincides with a wave of backlash from scholars, particularly in Japan, who criticize Lockley's claims as speculative at best and outright false at worst. It's rumored that some of Yasuki's cut content in the game, including quests tied to his supposed rise as a samurai, were directly influenced by Lockley's work and later removed to avoid further controversy. And by the way, this is going to be a little bit of a long video out there, so go get yourself a snack if you need to. Go get you something to drink. Go take a leak or whatever. Hopefully there'll be a commercial ad in the middle of this. You guys can take out. You can go take a do one of those. But yeah, this is going to be a minute. Ubisoft's response to this backlash seems to include a shift in marketing focus, with greater emphasis on Noyoi's parkour system and the game's shinobi elements. The parkour system that's been like tried and true in like all of the Assassin's Creed games out there. Maybe that would have been a good idea. I mean, can you imagine playing as an Assassin's Creed game out there without the crazy parkour system, without being able to climb to like the highest heights you can reach and then jump, do the little swan dive off into the little leap of faith out there down into the bushes? Like, can you imagine not doing that for the majority of an Assassin's Creed game? Yeah, probably a good idea to change that as well. And the game's shinobi elements. Trailers, obviously the ninja elements. Trailers that initially highlighted Yasuki's samurai way during the game's announcement are now conspicuously less centered on him, reflecting a clear pivot in how the game is presented. Whether this last-minute reworking can salvage the project or not remains to be seen, but the changes seem like a desperate attempt to appease critics and salvage public perception, which Ubisoft severely needs to do right now. But it doesn't end there. Our sources state that Ubisoft's change in this approach has gone even further. The delay was used to refine Nioh's parkour system significantly and to heavily alter many dialogue interactions between Yasuki, Nioi, and NPCs throughout the story. However, as our source mentioned, they could only do so much. And this is one of the things that a lot of people were asking about this too, because people were like, are they going to remove him from the game? Are they going to change it? And I've got friends that are in like the gaming development sphere and that they've done game development in the past, and they're like, you can't do that. Like, you can't just completely and totally replace his character with somebody else. That's just not going to happen. But they are definitely doing their damnedest to shift focus, if all of these rumors be true. But like I said, it comes from that Park Place. So I'm going to take this with a little less than a grain of salt. Among these dialogue changes were discussions where Yasuki is previously presented as a samurai and celebrated for his renown among Japanese NPCs. Yes, boys and girls, the whole world of Japan was going to know that he was the bestest ever, and they were going to treat him as such. Not anymore. Now it seems that it has been altered to focus on the creed, which will be built by both main characters, with Naoi taking a more prominent role. Ubisoft has also reworked cutscenes where Yasuki was initially featured more prominently, with Naoi now portrayed as the driving force of the duo. Hey, strong independent women. That should make all the wokies happy, right? Strong independent women. From what we understand, it feels almost as though Naoi has taken the lead role, even though players will still have the option to switch between the two characters. Our source also stated that the delay was primarily aimed at reevaluating Yasuki's role to avoid further bad press from historical fanatics. Oh, yes, it's the crazy people on the internet, boys and girls. But hey, it turns out we actually drive sales. So unless you want to go completely bankrupt like you're already facing anyway, Ubisoft, you have to listen to us. Take that as a win, boys and girls. Ubisoft reportedly sought to minimize criticism from Japanese historians by making the game more historically accurate where possible. However, seen in recent previews, many inaccuracies still remain. For instance, watermelons were not introduced, and the fact that they put watermelons in it with a black character. Like, could have you been more on the nose? Like, remind me who the racists are again. Like, seriously? I mean, where's your t-shirt that says, I also like fried chicken and watermelon? I mean, like, that's basically what you're doing at that point. But obviously, it's not even historically accurate, which is honestly the worst. I mean, it's not the worst part. The worst part is what they're insinuating. But yes, this is still bad. For instance, watermelons were not introduced to Japan. I can't laugh. I can't help but laugh that they put watermelons in this damn thing. To Japan until the Senkoi era, the 15th to 16th century, despite their presence in the game. Watermelons were brought to Japan much later, during the Edo period, likely via Chinese traders in the 17th century. Additional, the game's depictions of Japanese seasons is historically and geographically inaccurate, where cherry blossoms incorrectly shown during summer rather than spring, a glaring mistake given how iconic and culturally significant the Sakura season is in Japan. So, how much did Ubisoft really try to change? According to our source, the most outrageous inaccuracies were related to Yasuki's portrayal, and efforts were made to mitigate these issues. However, they added there are still individuals within Ubisoft who remain adamant that Yasuki's character will resonate with players. Yeah, okay. That's why I said these people are delusional. They're absolutely insane. That's why we call it a cult, right? Because they're delusional. They are completely insane, boys and girls. They cannot see the forest for the trees in any way, shape, or form, despite the backlash and mounting criticism. Either way, it's shaping up to be a terrible month for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and an even worse start to the year for Ubisoft. It doesn't help that their case that The Rise of Ronin, another samurai-themed game developed by Team Ninja, the creator of Nioh and Ninja Gaiden, which, hey, we got some good news about Ninja Gaiden coming too, has been well received and recently announced its PC release date for March 11th. Just 9 days before Shadows. Oh, I can't wait to see those Steam DB numbers, boys and girls. That is going to be glorious. This timing will almost certainly siphon players away from Ubisoft, especially since Rise of the Ronin is expected to deliver a far more accurate and authentic samurai experience. Color a shock there. One can't help but wonder if this was a deliberate move by the Japanese developers of Rise of the Ronin to send a pointed message to Ubisoft about their blatant historical ignorance. And honestly, I'm totally down for that. I want companies to fight. Please, I want you going forth back at each other on Twitter. I want you taking digs at each other. I want you actually to compete, because that's what it is. Competition breeds excellence. And guess what? The AAA gaming studios haven't been competing for quite a while. And look at what we've got. Look what we've got. Not so much excellence in any way, shape, or form. I suspect we'll soon hear more from insider leaks that the troubled production of Shadows once the game officially releases, which, based on current projections, seems destined for a lukewarm reception. Before that, there's still an entire month ahead. I mean, how much worse can it get, right? Like, I mean, you say that, and I don't know. I mean, like, the next thing is the only thing I can expect, the next biggest thing that I could expect at this point was, because of all these changes that they've made, that this game is going to end up being a broken and buggy mess like Star Wars Outlaws, no matter what they do. I mean, what are we looking at? Another delay at this point? Because Ubisoft cannot release another broken and buggy game. It will end their company. Assassin's Creed Shadows is probably going to be the last game Ubisoft ever produces as an actual company by itself to begin with. But But that being said, all of these changes, you're going to end up with bugs. You're going to end up with issues. And if Ubisoft releases another broken and buggy game, they are toast. Because it does not matter how much IGN shills for them. Doesn't matter how much any of these legacy institutions out there try to shill for them like they did with Star Wars Outlaws. It is not going to work. This game is going to fail. And there's a good possibility that even if this game comes out and is an absolute fabulous success, there's a vast majority of your audience that you've already lost, Ubisoft, and you're not going to get them back. Assassin's Creed Shadows is probably destined to fail no matter what they do. But you know what? I appreciate the effort. At least somebody inside of that company realizes that what they've been doing is wrong and they're trying to fix it. Whether or not it's too late, well, hopefully, come March, we're going to find out, boys and girls.